Today on Locked On Red Wings, what is the best use for Simon Edvinsson going forward, and how high can Lucas Raymond fly?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's a host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Scotty, we got a lot to get to today. We want to talk about Edvinsson. We want to talk about Lucas Raymond, and we want to talk about what could be a season-defining game against the Islanders coming up tonight by the time people are listening to this episode. But I think we should probably start with Simon Edvinsson and then roll into Lucas Raymond for no other reason than that's just how I want to do it. I want Edvinsson to be on the thumbnail, so let's lead with him. And Simon Edvinsson, obviously, as people know, he played in the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, played pretty big minutes, 18 plus minutes, really. I think it was like 18:36 officially, with one shift on the penalty kill for about 45 seconds. He looked pretty good. I know analytically the numbers are going to say that he wasn't that great, but from the eye test, there were a couple rookie mistakes where a couple bad giveaways in the defensive zone, but he was making big-time blocks. He was winning corner battles. He was interrupting passes. He looked overall pretty comfortable. And I think given more practices and more live reps during games, he's going to get cozier and cozier. But I think it's also safe to assume, Scotty, that Simon Edvinsson was called up from the Grand Rapids Griffins because Jake Walman is day-to-day. Now, assuming when Jake Walman is healthy and that Simon Edvinsson stays with the team, like he earns a roster spot, because after trade deadline, the roster limitations are lifted. It's not a 23-man roster anymore, so you can keep him up if you want. Where does he fit in the Red Wings decor?
Yeah, we don't have to beat this, drum over and over and over again. But when Walman does come back, we've said it a lot. I've said it a lot. I do not understand them just rolling out the same 6 D-men in the same order and the same 3 pairs over and over and over again. I am kind of scared that this conversation is just going to be null and that they will. And they'll just send Edvinsson down, or they'll healthy him or whatnot, and they're just going to keep rolling the 3 pairs that they've been rolling with for the last several months, and that he's not going to get that opportunity. So I want to preface this conversation with that, is that I'm very, very concerned and nervous that this whole conversation is going to be nullified because they're just going to not play him when Walman comes back.
Let's play the hypothetical game and assume that he is not going to be sent back down. Because again, roster limitations are lifted after the trade deadline. You can carry more than 23 players, so that's not a concern anymore. Yeah. You can choose to then play him over 2 other defensemen when Walman gets healthy. How do we want these pairs to line up? And that was a nice little exercise I have for the people. I even got it up on Cap Friendly, so we have the visual element of it. And
we used it in the summer too, didn't we?
We used it in the summer. It's fun to do. It gives a little visual element towards the conversation. Scotty, I mean, just first of all, I think it's hilarious that Cap Friendly lists Justin Hall as their number 1 right D-man on depth chart. I don't understand that. But
hasn't been updated since July.
Right. And Sider's the 3rd one on that depth chart. I think that has more to do with just like age and contracts.
Probably. It looks like it's exactly sorted by contract. Actually.
Yeah, you're right. Because the left side fits that same thing. I'm gonna go to you first.
Yeah. So my initial reaction is honestly with how well he's played this year, kind of give you the veteran chippiness, almost protector, not quite, but like kind of role. My initial reaction is to play him with Ben Sherratt, to be honest. I think that's something that they tried last year as well. During his short stint in the NHL, he played with Sherratt. So there's already, even though it's only a few games, some sort of a history there. And I think that being your second pair is to me that, and there's a few different combinations we'll obviously go over, but just off rip, my initial reaction is Sider, Walman at the top, Edvinsson, Sherratt 2, and then my third pair would be Ghost Mata, and I would be healthying Petrie and obviously Hall. But yeah, that's kind of my initial reaction, is to have the 6 look like that.
Yeah, so obviously you got to make note too. If they go with Sherratt Edvinsson, you'll be bumping Ben Sherratt over to the right side. He's a left-handed
Yes,
naturally,
yeah,
but he can play both sides. He's even listed here on Cap Friendly as having the ability to play left and right side D. Sider and Sherratt looked really good, by the way, the other night. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and it's a fun conversation to have, because I think Edvinsson gives you that added flexibility to really pick and choose your pairs, whereas for better and for worse, the pairs have been very rigid into the entire season, even to the point where we're like frustrated by it, right? Like, that's well documented. You led the episode talking about it. I'm not going to lie, I've been really disillusioned with Shane Gostisbehere's game, and I think adding Simon Edvinsson to that second pair gives you the flexibility of bumping, because as much crap as we give somebody like Jeff Petrie, I think he can still be effective on the third pairing as a defenseman. Shane Gostisbehere, while sure providing power play points, doesn't do a lot at 5-on-5 offensively or defensively, and is horrid in the D zone. And we know that Petrie and Edvinsson have played together already pretty much every single game that Edvinsson's been called up. But I wouldn't mind seeing a Walman, Sider and then Edvinsson, Sherratt like you, and then Mata and Petrie even as your third pair, scratching Gostisbehere. I know for some people that's going to be a hot take, because Gostisbehere, I think, leads your defense in points, but watching Gostisbehere and Mata, and specifically because of the way Gostisbehere plays defense in air quotes, is the biggest reason why they get this incredibly sheltered minutes against nobody competition, and pretty consistently offensive zone deployments, because you cannot depend on that pair to play defensively. So I would be curious to see if Jeff Petrie in a third pair role with a defensive Ole Mata, if they can play a little bit tougher minutes and then take some of that pressure off of Sider and Walman a little bit, not a ton. Because again, Sider and Walman are your number one defensive pairing. You're going to give them to a point where we complain about it, but you're going to give them the bulk majority of the tough matchups. But I wonder if that balances it out a little bit in the difficulty, where that would also free Sider and Walman up to get a little bit easier matchups down the line in the game as well. And I'm just spitballing here. I also think that one day you'd love to see Edvinsson and Sider as your top pair. Probably not this season, and we're talking specifically about this season. But Sider and Edvinsson as your top pair would be mouthwateringly good. And then imagine adding somebody of Walman's caliber to the second pair, where, let's be honest, he's probably a little bit more adept. Because long-term, I don't think Walman's your solution on the top pair. I think he's been a little bit overwhelmed at times, eating the minutes with Sider, because face it, Sider's eating those minutes because he's the only one who can take it. And Walman's kind of along for the ride. Long-term, if you can get Edvinsson up there with Sider, bump Walman down to the second pair, now you're looking at a lot more evenly distributed pairings.
Yeah, I also think from an offensive perspective, if you were to do that, again, this is more of a long-term thing. I don't think you're going to throw Edvinsson out there on the top pair this year, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. But I also think that kind of moving Walman to the second pair somewhat, I don't know, nullifies the need for a player like Gostisbehere on your team, right? Like the reason why Gostisbehere gets any sort of minutes is because of what he provides offensively. And having a Jake Walman who can a different style, but also provide, solid offense and provide something in the offensive zone to your team, being, not away from the top pair, kind of makes it so that, okay, well, we don't need like this pure offensive, only offense, no defense type of player further down in the pairings, because we're already getting offense from, 2 or 3 of the players spread out evenly amongst the top 2. So, I don't mind that at all long term. Obviously, that's a different conversation. Obviously, again, Ghost plays a little bit of quarterback, with which Walman doesn't really do, but so it's a little bit different style too. But I do think that long term, obviously, that'd be great. I also think there's an argument for spreading the wealth out a little bit to create some more depth. I don't know. That's more of a big picture conversation, but obviously seeing that one day would be 4 years in the making of everybody's dream. So
I also really like what we got going on right here. You have an ultimate glass cannon defensive pairing, a Walman and Gostisbehere. You're going to give up goals, but they might score 1,000. So,
yeah.
And then Sherratt, that'd make Sherratt and Petrie your third pair, and I think that'd be a really effective third pair for the Detroit Red Wings. But I think ultimately for the short term, for the rest of the season, once Walman gets healthy, I do really agree with you that it's probably Sherratt and Edvinsson would be my go-to second pairing, and then combining either Mata and Gostisbehere or Petrie and Mata would provide the Red Wings enough of a flexibility. And of course, you can sprinkle Gostisbehere and Justin Hull back in there at need be, or maybe even no. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to put that into the universe. I was looking at just simply because of handedness, but yeah, I like this idea. I think this is probably the safest option for now. They do seem to like Petrie and Edvinsson together. So for the short term, at least for the next couple of games, Walman's out, I think you're still going to see Petrie and Edvinsson together. Yeah. But Edvinsson is just so clear as he's going to get more comfortable. I think it's going to be a huge upgrade for the Red Wings on the back end. I'm looking forward to it. And of course, he should get some penalty kill minutes as well. Let's see what he can do in the PK.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I know we got to get to a break here, but I think that this summer, one of the biggest conversations you and I are going to have going into free agency and trade talks when the offseason really opens up is going to be how the blue line ends up looking, because they have a lot of players who you could argue are somewhat dead weight. You have players who aren't a part of the long-term plan. And you have a very healthy mix of veterans and also prospects, that are between Edvinsson and Johansson that are right, on the bubble, if not just straight up ready for the NHL. So I think, again, that's more big picture. We're trying to focus on the here and now, and I think you're probably right there. But there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen with this blue line over the next 8 months.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about sprinkling Johansson in there, it gets really exciting to look at the future, and that's the best part about prospects, right? Is thinking about the ceilings all optimism. We got to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about Lucas Raymond. He is red hot right now. And we're going to have a conversation, I guess, revisit a conversation we had in the preseason, right? Just like in segment 1 here, about where that ceiling lies. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about Game Time. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the views from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. And you can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. That's 2, Scotty, right here. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, hockey, concerts, comedy, so much more. And Zone Deals allows you to pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. And if you find that those tickets in the same section and row for less, the Game Time guarantee means you'll get 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. I'm going too fast. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, you're doing a great job with the banners, by the way. Really takes a load off.
It took me about 10 seconds to find Game Time today. So I don't know. That seems like a really, really, really backhanded compliment. But yes.
I didn't even notice. So you just called yourself out.
Genuinely, dude. I was like, dude, where is G in the alphabet? I could not find it for the life of me. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man. All right. Segment 2. We're going to talk about Lucas Raymond right now. 59 points on the season. That's a new career high. Those 2 goals against the Columbus Blue Jackets set that new career high. He's got 7 goals, 8 points in the last 5 games, riding a 5-game point streak. He has put the team on his back. He leads the team in points. He leads all players under the age of 22 in points, with Connor Bedard trailing him. Of course, Connor Bedard missed a month because of a broken jaw. Bedard's kind of a freak. And in a week, Scotty, he will be 20. Okay. He'll be 22. Freaking a good way. He's so good.
No, yeah, I know that was a joke. I was saying, yeah, he's okay. Like
He's
he's
okay.
fine.
Okay, that's what you meant.
He's all right.
In a week will be Lucas Raymond's 22nd birthday. And so when he turns 22, he'll be third among players 23 and under, trailing just Jack Hughes and Tim Stutzla. So I think it's fair to say that this is Lucas Raymond breakout year. And
Yeah, completely.
if you go back to the start of the season, we talked about our expectations for Lucas Raymond, and I think we still had hope he could be a really good player, but after his sophomore slump year, maybe we had our expectations dampened, because I remember having a conversation thinking realistically, I would expect him to reach that 60-point threshold again, 57-point threshold again. We expected him to set a new career high, and that's what he's done. But we thought realistically he could be somewhere between a 60 and 70-point player. But with the way he's played these last 5 games, despite a horrible losing streak from the Detroit Red Wings, I do wonder if maybe our expectations for Lucas Raymond were a little bit too low. Because if he can be, and it's hard to be consistent in this league, only the best of the best can be this consistent for this long. I do wonder if maybe his ceiling is higher than a 60 to 70-point player, which is what we considered his ceiling at before the season.
Yeah, well, I think that some of that, the biggest question mark I have for him going forward is
What's he going to make next year?
well, I guess that's a fair point. On the ice, my biggest question mark for him going forward really is just, this is going to sound like weird, but like fit that gets him the most production going forward. Like we're seeing in this stretch, right, with Larkin out, that he's really excelling. And again, he's playing a lot up the middle, and he's not like centering an even strength line or anything, but like he's you see him on, like, again, we've talked about a lot, like he's bumpering the power play, and he's consistently been in front of the net. He's got a lot of his points in this streak from kind of that spot right in front of the net. 2 of his goals, I want to say, right there, down on one knee.
Well, both the game goals against Columbus,
Yeah.
power play and with the extra man on the empty net came right out net front.
Yeah. So to me, it's a question of, you know, and it's a good problem to have, but like you obviously have Larkin, who you love up the middle and is the best player on the team in that role. And so it's utilizing, like, how do we get the most out of both of these guys at full health now that we're seeing what Larkin is capable of doing in some of those set scenarios. Now, again, like Raymond's still obviously playing on the outside on even strength and on 5-5 on whatnot, but just the relentlessness and the lack of fear to go and provide any sort of production up the middle has just been a really great thing to see. I don't really have any other adjective. It's just awesome. Like it's just it's really nice for development for a guy that 6 to 8 months ago people were like, oh, is he too small? And like now it's like, oh, he's bumpering a power play. Like it's just that is kind of my question. I think that probably, whatever conclusion you come to with that conversation and how, what his role is going forward, is probably where the answer to that question lies.
I mean, I think my answer is simply put, and you mentioned the players, like once Lucas or Dylan Larkin's healthy, you keep pairing him with Dylan Larkin. We talked a little bit about it on the game recap yesterday. Yeah. Dylan Larkin can play the entire game. He's a complete player. He is a great playmaker. He's a great goal scorer. He's got heart. He's got hustle. He's got the speed. He wins board battles. He plays way better defense now than he did when he started his career. He's really learned how to do that. And, Lucas Raymond, that's the one aspect of the game he still really has to learn. He's not great defensively still, but in the offensive zone, he's found his scoring touch. He's a playmaker. He hustles. He's doing everything that Dylan Larkin had to learn to do. And you put those two guys together, especially with Lucas Raymond's now found scoring touch, and they're going to elevate each other. Now, what you really need, in my opinion, and again, this is a conversation we had prior to the trade deadline, you need another winger in the top 6, because they're going to want to keep, assuming, hopefully, that Kane sticks around. Kane and DeBrincat still have good chemistry. I know DeBrincat's struggling to score, but he's a strong positive Corsi relative on this team. He's providing in other ways. He's getting a ton of
career assist numbers.
Right. Yeah. So he is, those two got to stay together. So really you need a guy who you can trust to be your bona fide 2C, which I don't know if Comfort or Kopp are that solution at this point in this season. And you need a winger to play with Larkin and Raymond. But
for sure,
I mean, as far as how high he can soar, I mean, now I'm bumping up my numbers from 70-point max to like 80-point max. I think this is a winger who can be a point per game player. And, I said preseason that I don't think he'd ever be able to cross. I don't think he'd be like a consistent 30 goal scorer. Well, he's got 24 goals with 13 games left. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he continues this hot streak and breaks 30 goals. I don't think it's realistic for him to score 6 more goals in 13 games. He's going to cool off eventually. But next year, I think it's totally realistic. And he's breaking my own expectations for what I had for him in the best possible way. So, I mean, I think his ceiling is even higher than what we estimated at the beginning of the season. And to add to that, Scotty, you look at the quality of competition he's facing and his deployment, something that we talk a lot about with Seider and Raymond. He's getting a lot of tough deployments for the Detroit Red Wings, and he's making the most of it. So here's Dauber Frozen Tools, quality of competition on the y-axis, and offensive zone deployment on the x-axis. And you guys can see here that Lucas Raymond on the y-axis is 4th highest, well above that 0.0. He gets the 4th toughest deployments, just behind Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and Dylan Larkin. You see how that circle is blue as well. That means he is Corsi for relative. That means when he is on the ice, the team produces more shot attempts for than against versus when he is off the ice.
And those are the only 4 guys that are blue.
Only 4 guys that are blue. Those are the 4 forwards that provide more shot attempts on the ice rather than when the team's off the ice. Like, they generate more shot attempts for than give up when those 4 are on the ice, while he's getting the 4th toughest minutes. Also, of those 4, getting the most defensive zone deployments. Now, I know Larkin's sample size is a little bit tinier because of the fact that he's been injured, but he still has 50-plus games played. So Lucas Raymond getting the toughest deployments, zone-wise, getting the 4th toughest deployments competition-wise, is driving the offense for the Detroit Red Wings throughout the season, and especially right now in the last 5 games. He's legit, dude. Like, we knew he was top line caliber, but we're getting to categories here, or territory here, where we have to start talking about whether he is star talent, like legitimate. We've had that conversation with Moritz Seider, but after last year's sophomore slump, we kind of calmed down about it. Well, now I'm hyping back up. He might be legitimate star talent in this league.
Yeah. I think maybe I'm just like being a loser, but like I think I want to see it over a full season, right? Like I think that's the next step, is you want to see. And again, this season he's obviously been producing, and he's going to have a career high he's going to have a career high season. But I think that is the next step, is take what he has done in the last, 10, 15 games, and try to, if that can be a consistent, semi-consistent thing over 82, then yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, with how good he's looked this whole year, outside of that one point, whatever it was, like early in the season, he had that one part of the year where he was a little slow for a few weeks, but besides that, he's been stellar, man. Yeah. It's so interesting looking back at that draft class, just because there was such a, slam dunk number 1 at the top, and everybody was saying it's a 3-team draft, and the Red Wings with the worst record got the 4th pick and all that. And now you look back, like, Stutz is obviously great. Laugh is
he's coming on. He's finally starting to come on.
Yeah. He's trying to figure it out, but has been good. Byfield has taken a step forward this year and whatnot. And now you have Razor, who is, again, to your point, I think playing his way into that like top end talent conversation. And Razor's been, playing top line essentially since the start of his rookie year too. And hasn't wavered too much off of that consistently. So yeah, unbelievable. And I'm very, very excited for, not obviously we got to be where we are, right? We got to be present, excited for the rest of this year, but as he just continues to get older and improve, man, I'm just really pumped for the future with him too.
Well, and right, like the biggest thing to take away from this is he's still only 21, just about 22.
Which
like,
is crazy.
He's leading the team in points. Granted, that probably wouldn't be the case if Dylan Larkin wasn't hurt, but he's leading the team in points. He set a new career high in points. And he's only 21. Like, that's incredible. I think I saw on Twitter that he and Steve Yzerman and Norm Ullman and Lucas Raymond are the only 3 Detroit Red Wings to have 5-game goal streaks or 7 goals in 5 games or something like that. Like, that's good company to be in. Like, people I've seen comps to Henrik Zetterberg started his career. I mean, he's the talk of the town for a team that's struggling. He and Kane are like one of the only 2 bright spots for this team right now. So I'm loving it. And he's going to get paid.
He is, yes.
We got to go do another quick break. When we return, we'll preview what could be a season-defining game against the New York Islanders. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning what, Scotty?
Rubber, not cash.
With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and take home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, take it back. Shame, Scotty, leaving that banner up for a half second.
Tough day.
Let's talk a little bit about the game happening tonight against the New York Islanders. They currently sit 3 points back of the Detroit Red Wings as of recording this. The Red Wings are hanging on to the final wild card spot, a point ahead of the Washington Capitals. But with the Capitals playing on Wednesday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs, that could change. Regardless, a game against the Islanders, I mean, you're looking at a situation where you could give the Islanders life and drop a must-win game, or put a potential dagger in their season by going up 5 points on them with just a handful of games left in the season. So this, while maybe not having as much of a stake as I thought it would, because of the fact that I didn't expect Washington to come in. Now Washington 2 games later is like the game. This has probably nearly as much, if not as much, weight to it as that game against the Capitals is going to have in two games. So when it comes to the New York Islanders, Scotty, just win, right? Like, we go back to the losing streak. You want to talk about breaking down these games, just win.
Yeah, it'd be great to take both of those. It would be awfully nice to a week from now be talking about a win over the Islanders and the Caps. Yeah, man, this is obviously a massive game, one that has been circled on the calendar for a while within the fan base, and not that it would single-handedly like right the ship and you would just be, it's smooth sailing from here on out. It certainly wouldn't be that, but the perspective of where you are at in the standings and the optics going forward would be a whole heck of a lot better with a win.
Well, and you think about it too, right? This losing skid began with a 5-3 loss to the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
So how poetic would it be?
Moment. Avenge yourself,
Yeah. How poetic would it be for the winning streak, or the losing skid rather, to end with a statement win over the team that sent you spiraling in the first place? I mean, one could argue it was really the Panthers game that sent them spiraling, the game after the Islanders, because that was a 4-0 loss. You lost Larkin. But I mean, this is where it started. Let's end it there as well. Now, if you lose, even if you beat the Capitals, I mean, that makes it just, you got to beat these 2 Metro teams. Like, it is we talk about everything being a must-win game at this point, but there's the only must-win game that is greater than this one right now is the Capitals game in 2 days. Like, this is the second most must-win game, and you could argue that this is more must-win just because if you don't win this one, it takes away from the importance of beating the Capitals 2 games from now.
The Capitals game is more of a must-win. This game is more of a you can't lose. Does that make sense? Like,
no, yeah, that's perfect.
Perspective. Like, if you want to solidify yourself more and make this a race at the end, you cannot lose this game. But if you want to bury everyone below you. You have to win against Washington. So I think it's just a slight difference of perspective there too. But yeah, both of these obviously as important as two games can get really for a team in the Wings situation right now.
And how important too would it be for the Detroit Red Wings to get Dylan Larkin back? He
He's a
stated
maybe.
he's a possible, which is we went from aggressive to assume to
yeah.
possible in one
Possible
day.
isn't probable though.
No, it's not.
Possible is it's not impossible.
Yeah.
There you go. If you wondered what possible means, there you go. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath about it, but obviously that would be awesome.
It would be, and it'd be huge for the depth. I mean, we talk about moving everyone back down. Although, I mean, hey, Austin Zarnik 1C, 2C. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Zarnik would probably get sent back down to Grand Rapids the moment Larkin comes back. But it's just, it comes down to it's a big game. And I know that Wednesday as well, Larkin had obviously the full practice, but Comfer, Rasmussen, Walman, and Perron all didn't skate. They were maintenance days for Comfer and Perron, but like Rasmussen's still sick and Walman's still hurt. I pray they're healthy. Like, we talk about how the game against Columbus was going to need to be a flu game with the fact that a bunch of players are fighting off stomach bugs. I hope that it's like run its course to the locker room and we're at the tail end of that, because we're finally starting to win games again, right? Winners of the 2 of the last 3. You just please do not get everyone sick right now. I just cannot mentally handle that. James Reimer's also your starter in net for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think that probably I don't know. I can see the logic there. That kind of makes sense.
Well, I mean, Reimer has the 2 games the Wings have won in the last 10, 11 games are beat with Reimer and net. So it makes sense.
Hasn't won a game since February. So
right. Also, the irony, right? The Red Wings won 6 straight, then they lost 7 straight. While they were losing 7 straight, the Islanders won 6 straight. The moment the Red Wings win a game, now the Islanders are on an L5 streak.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is as much of a do or die game for the Islanders as it is for the Red Wings. So both seasons are arguably on the line in this game. So I'm hoping for a happy Friday. I'm really hoping for a happy Friday.
Same, brother.
Any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode recapping this one on Friday. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. See your team every day.
Every day.